Okay then, dear listeners, now you're comfortably hanging up in a tree there. We're back out in the river. Conditions are pretty crappy. The sun's out, but the river was up 1.3 meters in a night. It's dropped back, plenty of colour in it still, but it's fly only this month, so we'll give it a go whatever happens. If the sun's out, then I always feel, in my simplistic view, that I should be out too. So here I am. And in fact, if the day has got a Y in it, I should also be out. So we'll give it an hour, and if you're that bored, you can come with me and see what happens, which I bet you £5, that will be absolutely sod all. I don't know if you can see that colour of that water there. If I was out in May, June, July, August, September, October, that would be absolute heaven for sea trout and salmon. But this is March and they're just not here. So we are fishing for wild trout only. There's no stockfish on this river. Might say it's fly only this time of year. I don't hold out too much hope. We've got a couple hundred meters of water here. I've only got an hour or so because we're off out deer stalking shortly. And it was a question of doing something useful or some sort of work. Absolutely no chance. Or come out in the river for an hour. You never know. You never know unless you try. So here we are. Pull up your sofa or your office chair. Switch on your spare computer so the boss can't see you. And let's go and see if we can catch a wild trout. 2 pheasant tails on there at the minute. The heaviest one on the end, obviously. Although Stuart would disagree, and sometimes put the heaviest one on the dropper so the lighter one has room to move on the point. Don't know if I hold with that idea. I've certainly never tried it. And maybe it's a good time to mention, why don't you subscribe? Because I only need 96 more subscribers now, and it'll be fur coats and jewels all round, because I'll have my 1,000 then, and YouTube will probably pay me about £4 a month for doing this, apparently. I don't mind. It's all good fun. Also, there will be links to the gear and essentials like socks and underpants and whatever in the description below. At least now the sun is quite warm and the wind has gone. If I dangle a paw in the water, I can tell you that is bloody cold. So I don't think this little bit of sunshine is going to make an awful lot of difference. Just makes it look more pretty, I suppose. We'll just fish the deeper stretches. See what happens. Oh, here comes the wind. Now it's swapped, it's downstream now. When I had a look at the river half an hour ago, it was upstream wind. Surely there's a fish somewhere. Now, it has to be said, we can worm from April onwards, and sometimes even in April if it's being cold, you can't even catch them on a worm. The river's probably been up here a lot of the winter, and I can see my bugs in the water, so I guarantee the fish can, if we can find a fish. Seems to be the theme everywhere for March, because we went out on the first ray trip the other day and fished a good tide in, 2 locations. Didn't even have a bite off a dogfish, nothing at all. You might reasonably say February and March definitely suck. But that doesn't mean we can't get one. Oh, there was a bite, damn it. So, somebody is alive. Just on the far side of that bit of white water as it came down, and then it went into the quiet, we had a bite, which I missed. Maybe because I was talking to you lot, so I'm blaming you. Seems fair to me. But again, like the other day, it could be smolts. Smolts can take a fly and reject it so quick. It's almost supernatural. But we can run it through a few times. For anybody who doesn't bug or hasn't tried it, don't just try and cover water like you're down in the crossing. Just literally fish the river line by line like a coarse fisherman would. So each run will be just a foot or 2 further out than the last one. Wow, now the wind's upstream. Maybe it will make its mind up. Oop, that's the bottom. Anyway, what I was saying was, say you cast, follow the rod there now. If you cast there just out from that rock, and the next one will be there, then there, then there. Fish every possible line and try and drop your bugs right on top of the fish. There we are, I got him back. At least we're hitting the bottom. Well, now the sun is positively hot. That's a bit of a miracle. I work on my tan on my right ear. And look up there, that's as far as we're going to make it today. So, we shall fish up. And then I've got a possible secret weapon to try in a couple of spots on the way back down. Like I say, we haven't got much time. But they do say that any time spent fishing does not count towards a man's lifespan. So I should imagine I'm going to live to be at least 1,000,000 years old. Because I've done a lot of fishing in the last 60 years. Duck. Don't mind them ducks. They are proper ducks. Not like them bloody mergansers and cormorants that have ruined the river. All these pools here in the summer, in the 70s, you could stick your Polaroids on and you would see layers of fish. There would be trout everywhere. Every little nook and cranny would have a fish. And the big pools, they'd be lined up just like in the textbooks with the big fish in the best spots, trailing all the way back to the little 4 inches in the tail. And then the birds came and it's all gone. And the powers that be, their only idea was to grant the birds, even though they're invasives, grant them full protection as British birds. So well done, you destroyed all of our fisheries, lakes, ponds, canals, rivers, ruined the whole bloody lot. And now here we are. This river, we had a survey, I think I mentioned it before, where this river should support about 120,000 adult trout. And we electrofished, we paid a lot of money, £11,000 for a survey. We electrofished 11 sites, I think it was, from almost from the source of the river right down to just above the tide. And each time we electrofished 50 meters of good water, and we had adult trout 4. Now I can remember with the National Rivers Authority electrofishing places because there was being a bit of work done or something like that, and a pool like this one in front, you'd expect probably 150 trout minimum just out of that one little pool there. It's only 70 meters long, I would say. But if you didn't get 150 trout out there, plus suin and salmon and eels, stone loach, bullheads, well, you would definitely say something's gone horribly wrong. But now the stone loach are gone altogether. The bullheads are still here in numbers. The trout more or less gone. You can't dry fly fish anymore because there's just nothing to fish for. And yeah, I could come here and do this in May. In the old days, that little stretch where I was earlier, you could have dry flied that for 30 or 40 minutes and picked up trout after trout. Now you can come and bug it with heat, which is a rather more effective method, and you might get one if you're really lucky. You won't get one every trip. So there you have it, folks. All our fisheries are ruined. I fished the Wye an awful lot for pike, and when I started up there in the winter, certain spots the water was black with fish. Shoals of roach, anything up to 200 meters long, just solid shoal of roach, black. And obviously plenty of pike and perch in attendance. And when the pike were on, you could probably expect 5 or 6 double figure fish without too much trouble. We've had them there to 20, I think the Hobbits had one 26. I've had one perhaps 22, 24, something like that. But then the birds arrived in numbers, and so did the Eastern Europeans. The pike disappeared. The roach went first. Sometimes you'd see up to 70 cormorants in one tree. So each one of those is taking 5 or 6 fish every single day. So you do the maths. They're removing a lot of fish constantly. The big shoals disappeared. So the pike were running out of food. The Eastern Europeans were catching them on deadlines left, right and centre. I'm not disparaging every Eastern European, obviously. I spent a lot of time out behind the Iron Curtain, in fact. So Poland, Yugoslavia, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, really nice people. Conditions out there were far better than they are here now. So you can't blame them, really, but they did come and they did catch a lot of fish and barbecue them on the bank and sell them and whatever. And the Wye, which used to be one of our premier rivers in the whole country, is now stuffed. And on top of it, you've got the chicken farms that have polluted it, and the algal blooms, and sewage from our great and wondrous water companies, and it's barely worth going there anymore. We sometimes fished, before we jacked it in, we'd sometimes fish all winter for one pike instead of getting fish every session. I mean, I'm not saying you'd go up there for an hour and you'd catch a load of fish. You'd go up there and fish all day, and at some point, unless there was a massive flood and you couldn't get near the water, at some point they would come on the feed and you'd get a couple, and some days 5 or 6. And then it got down to fishing week after week after week after week. No runs, didn't matter where you went, just no life at all. And you might get the occasional fish. Well, that's the way it is everywhere now. On this river we stopped all the trout stocking because, quite simply, I was going out after the stocking had been done and there'd be hundreds of stocked fish milling about in shoals. I observed them literally chasing the wild fish out of the pools. You know, fish 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. They were just herded out of the pools downstream, downstream, downstream. And when we went and sat above the tide, you could see shoals of small trout, 2 or 3 inches long, going over and into basically into the estuary, where they didn't have a lot of chance. And then shortly after, all of those stockfish would follow them. So I spent thousands of pounds on 1,000 stockfish. A few would be caught as they transited the river downstream. Luckily, we never stocked more than 4 miles up above the sea, so we didn't do any damage up there. But all those fish are in the sea, so every year £4,000 just to provide half a dozen stockfish to be killed for the table. That's fine. But in the meantime, we'd flushed out our wild fish and all the stockfish went with them. So you might as well have just chucked your 4,000 quid in the sea. And has to be said, there are less fish in the river now for all those reasons, but the quality of them is exceptional. And we do get brown trout every year, 3, 4 pounders now and again, that are just pure wild fish. I might be able to find you a photograph of 1 or 2 of those somewhere. I haven't had them, but I know people who have. And the normal size wild fish that you find in between, which, you know, this river normally used to have a huge population of 8-inch trout, occasional 9s and 10s, very occasional 12s and 14s. And once in a blue moon, every sort of 20 years, a bigger fish, 18, 20 inches, would turn up. So the quality is here, but every year, even on a good, really good spawning year, what you'll see is all the small fish, the 1-inch, 2-inch fish, they're all hatched out now. They're all growing fast. They'll be in the main river, and then June, somewhere around June, there'll be lots and lots and lots and lots of small trout everywhere. And then the mergansers and everything will reappear, and they will simply clean them out. They also take 50% of the smolts. So all the salmon and sea trout that are descending to the sea, you lose 50% year in, year out. Rivers just can't sustain that sort of bullshit. So they're taking the trout, they're taking the suin, they're taking the salmon. We quite often catch 2-pound suin with holes in them from the beaks of cormorants. Admittedly, that might be herons as well, and we don't mind herons because that's what's supposed to be here. But there's no fishery in the world that can sustain that sort of thing. And our fish are just not evolved to cope with cormorants or mergansers they've evolved next to kingfishers, grebes maybe on still waters, herons. That's what our fish have been with for the last 100,000 years, and now we've got new predators that are faster, stronger, more bionic. But anyway, the fish can't cope. So, well done to the authorities for protecting the bit you can see, as usual. Oh, look at us, look at the pretty birds. We'll have to protect those because everybody can see those. Never mind the damage they're doing, we just deny all that. And now the worm is turning a little bit, but 20 years too late. So politicians, this is all sound bites and we must be seen to be doing something, blah, blah, blah. Just like the sewage pollution, if it's under the surface, we can't see it, so it doesn't exist. So really speaking, all those people in charge should not be in charge of anything at all. They're incompetent, badly informed, low intelligence, I would say. They just really should not be in charge of anything of importance. And that's not just my thoughts on that. I know a lot of people who've got no respect whatsoever for local politicians, national politicians, the heads of the water companies, the heads of the NRW, Environment Agency, and all the rest of it. Scottish SEPA. They're all fucking office people who sit in their poxy offices with their stupid little computers. They don't come out in the water. They have no idea what's going on. And God help you if you tell them what's going on. They just look at you as if you're some sort of fucking alien. So they should all be ashamed of themselves, really. There are some good people out there, but they are swamped and pulled here and there by all the idiots. And of course, Joe Public doesn't fish, doesn't get in the water, it just doesn't know. It's the fishermen, the surfers, the kayakers, everybody else who's actually in the water who sees it. And the situation really is pretty shit. Incompetent assholes. It should bring back the guillotine, I say. I reckon if we lined up all the bosses of the water companies, pick every third one off with his head, the other ones might concentrate. You never know. Stranger things have happened. Or even better, they might run away and never be seen again, and we could have someone decent in charge instead of some money-grabbing, profiteering piece of crap. Which is what we got now. And it's beginning to look as though our one take back there might have been it. Right, let's go up here and get in my new office. Here it is. And we're going to change that for, we're going to try one of these, heavily weighted, lots of lead wire in there, makes a good thud. So that might look like dragonfly larvae perhaps, or a bullhead or a small fish, who knows. Maybe something will move for one of those. One thing I'm noticing is even with stainless steel eyes and a lot of lead under the body, these need to be much heavier. Swing up, swing around across the current. I would say these streamers need to be twice the weight that they are now. I want them to bomb straight down, see? And they are not. They're just drifting down like little fairies on dope. And I'm guessing any fish are going to be right smack on the bottom. So those flies need to be right smack on the bottom. You know, it makes sense. Now, if the weather was warmer, it might not matter so much because fish should probably have a go at chasing them. But right now, the fish don't seem to be doing very much. Apart from the one right at the beginning, and my guess is he was a smolt. One more cast and we'll have to go. Yeah, so this isn't happening. Try not to fall off my perch. Any road. We came out, we saw, we had one bite. It was warmer than expected, less windy than expected. The water is higher than we needed, and it's also very cold water. And we had a go. We tried heavy bugging, and we tried with the streamers, and we have learned one thing: we need to tie the streamers again and tie them very much heavier so we can bomb them straight to the bottom and jig them along the bottom. So that's it for now. I'm off, have some dinner, deer stalking, do something different, and ta-ta for now. And it's only going to get better as the weather warms up. March is awful, and we'll just keep trying. And hopefully you'll keep coming, and we'll see what happens. Toodle pip, ta-ta for now.